You want to know about the different areas around Greenville so you can decide where to land. So I'm doing another tier list. In my opinion, some of these suburbs are very overrated and some are seriously underrated. But that's the thing with this list. It's my opinion. An area I don't think as highly of may be perfect for you. So before we get into it, scan this QR code to grab your free circle sheet where our real estate team has laid out community size, amenities, and things to do for all of the locations I'm talking about in this video so that you can make the best decision for yourself. And stay with me a little bit because I've got something really cool coming up that you are not going to want to miss. All right, but before I get to that, let's start here with Simpsonville. So Simpsonville is a very family-friendly, growing suburban area. And when I say family-friendly, it could look like a whole lot of different ways. But here's the thing you need to know. We've got some pros and cons about Simpsonville. Simpsonville has a lot of new housing, good schools, according to greatschool.org, and it's close to Woodruff Road for convenience. If you are moving to the area, here's my quick little hack, and we're going to use Simpsonville as a great example. When you look at school zones and it's a highly rated school zone, chances are the area is really nice. So a lot of people want to live there, and that's directly reflected in the school zone. If you don't have kids, that's fine, but don't sleep on that, okay? Now, here's the other thing. Simpsonville, it can be a little rough. It has traffic, all right? That's probably the biggest con that I hear day to day when people are talking about this area and where exactly they want to land. There's a lot of people who say they want to live in Greenville, and they actually end up living in Simpsonville. I think we're going to give Simpsonville a solid B. It is a great place to live, lots of people relocating here, lots of things to do, and you're not far from anything. Next, let's talk about Greer. Now, Greer has that very balanced small town feel. It's cute, it's walkable, it's got a really cool little downtown right around Trade Street, and BMW and Michelin and GSP are right there in Greer. Now, the developments that are happening around downtown even are starting to gain more and more traction. People want to do life in a community. So Greer has heard them loud and clear and is bringing sports centers and amphitheaters and festivals all to its city center. And Greer is this very long, skinny area. This would actually be something that I would say is more of a con for this area because it is so spread out. You can be all the way almost in Five Forks and be in Greer, but then also be all the way on the other side of town up by Lake Robinson and still be considered the city of Greer. It's very different as well when you have some very new parts of Greer where it's new construction, new businesses, etc. But then you also have the very old side of Greer. And it's not necessarily the nice historical stuff either. It's areas that have been here for a long time. But all together, when you look at everything that is awesome about Greer, we get to give our first A of the tier list today because Greer's a pretty great place to live. Now, come here. Their farmer's market is not as good as one that I'm getting ready to talk about here in just a second. Come get me, Greer. All right, next, let's talk about Taylor's. Now, Taylor's is one of those non-incorporated areas that is quiet, established. It's completely underrated. And I know I just said something that I've had questions from you guys before. What is a non-incorporated area? All it means is you're not going to have city services like city police or fire. You're not going to have specific to Taylor's. It's going to be Greenville County. And whenever we're looking at Taylor's, it's actually pretty affordable because of that. It's also incredibly close to downtown Greenville. We're talking 15 minutes max, pretty much anywhere in Taylor's that you live. With that, you also get areas that are more established, which means that you have larger lots, homes that have been there for longer. Some of them have been updated, some of them have not. But at the same time, Taylor's can also feel a little less polished. Not as many new developments, not as many things to do. I mean, you've got the Taylor's Mill, and that's pretty much where things happen. I'm going to give you a B, Taylor's. Great job. Real quick, I just mentioned the Taylor's Mill. There's a lot of different businesses in the Taylor's Mill, and at the time of this video, there are several businesses within Taylor's Mill that have been there for years. Like, they started with this, I don't know what we would call it, a business conglomerate, but these businesses are closing. And maybe we want to know why. So let's talk about it. You should come back to the channel Thursday nights at 8 o'clock. I have a live show where I answer your questions right here like this. We'll talk about why businesses are closing and what do we think about it. All right, let's get back into it. Our next area gets a lot of attention, and this area gets lumped in quite often with Simpsonville. I'm talking about none other than Five Forks. It's very much an upscale area. You are going to see home prices a little bit higher. You're going to have newer houses, more new construction, those new neighborhoods, but you're also going to have the top rated schools. Remember what I told you at the beginning of the video? Top rated schools usually indicate a really great area. They have been developing the Five Forks area for the last decade. I've seen it completely change. It is at the end of Woodruff Road, so you can get to all of your shopping quickly, and you're not far from the interstate. But the cons of this area, I mean, the things to look out for is it's expensive and the traffic is pretty congested. There are some roads that you will not catch me over there if it is anywhere between 4:30 and 6:30 on a Friday afternoon. If you're on a pretty tight budget, I would say this area would be a concern. You want to live in a little bit more of an affordable area. So Five Forks, you get a C. But we're going to talk about a little bit more of an affordable area here in just a minute. If you have been watching our channel for any amount of time, you know that I have a small love affair going with Travelers Rest. It's outdoorsy, it's really chill, it's trendy. It is a place where community happens outside often. So it's one of those things where you get all the best things of Greenville in this teeny-tiny little town called Travelers Rest that really is not as tiny as it used to be. You get the Swamp Rabbit Trail access. The head of it starts in Travelers Rest. It's close to the mountains. And of course, it's got the best farmers market ever. We're talking top 10 in the state, the best. You should definitely be here on any Saturday from the beginning of May to the middle to end of September. From 8:30 to noon is when it's open. Now, it is a smaller town feel, and I know that it's not for everyone. There's not a ton of stuff to do. You usually have to drive into Greenville for that. If you are working and you still need a job here, it does have a pretty limited job availability. A lot of people that I have come across that live in Travelers Rest actually work from home. So having an in-house office is very important, or they just commute down into Greenville. It's not that far away. But I will say this, because Travelers Rest has become pretty popular in the last couple of years, it's pretty expensive to live up here too. Finding that house in the $300,000 to $350,000 range, you might find one or two, or it's going to be in an older neighborhood with older homes. You want that slower outdoor lifestyle? Duh, TR gets an F. Next, we are talking about an area that is growing at an exponential rate right now. Mauldin didn't have a downtown. before a couple of years ago, and they literally went and built one. They built Bridgeway Station. Bridgeway Station is one of those really cool little spots with lots of restaurants and boutiques, and it's also neat because the soccer stadiums are being built over there, but at the same time, the local community around is also pretty established. It's got some of the nicest neighborhoods. It's definitely more affordable than Five Forks, but it does have those other areas that are quickly increasing in price as well. Mauldin is very close to the interstate, so you're going to be able to get from point A to point B maybe a little bit faster, but Mauldin, it's still growing its identity. You can have a Greenville address, you can have a Simpsonville address, and you can have a Mauldin address. It's just one of those things where it's still a growing, evolving area. Mauldin, you get a B. All right, next we're going to talk about one of the smallest towns here in the upstate that is definitely seeing some really good growth. Talking about none other than Fountain Inn. It is the up and coming small town, 10 years behind where Travelers Rest is now. The Swamp Rabbit Trail is actually going to end in Fountain Inn. There's already a couple mile loop. It's more affordable whenever you come to housing. It's more quiet, it's less crowded, so you're not gonna have the traffic, and it is definitely going through revitalizing downtown. But one of the things here is it's also farther from Greenville. You're gonna take every bit of 30-45 minutes if you want to go into downtown for something. So if you're not finding what you want in the price point that you want, I would highly, highly recommend that you go down about 10-15 minutes more into Fountain Inn. They've got a lot of building happening in the area. So you're farther from Greenville and you've got fewer amenities for now, but you are going to be there at the very beginning of all of this development. And don't get me wrong, it's been developing for a while. You need to live in this area now before it completely blows up. I think we give you a B, almost a B plus. All right, let's talk about another large area that often I get questions about, talking about none other than Easley. And traditionally, it's really laid back. It's definitely what I would call more of the redneck area, and it's the furthest from the interstate. So you're definitely going to get more space for your money, that more established community feel. They've got their main street. Other cool things about Easley is you do have some pretty good access to the lakes and the outdoors. You're closer to Lake Hartwell, Kiwi, Jocassee. You're still a good 30-minute drive, but it's easier to get there if you live out towards Easley. And here's the thing, there's not as much to do that Easley is trying. They also have a walking trail that we don't talk about near as much. It's called the Doodle Trail. And being on that side of town, it gives you something to do. Other thing too that I know I've mentioned this before, they have some pretty gnarly small town politics. All I'm saying is if your local government ends up in the news more than once every couple of years, you might have a problem. And Easley, this is definitely you. It feels more small town, old school, and you've got to want to live over on this side of town. So you can get more bang for your buck. You can get in some very gorgeous neighborhoods, decent school districts, depending on what side of Easley that you live on. But overall, we're going to give Easley a solid C, just because y'all need to get your house in order when it comes to your local government. All right, this next area we have not mentioned a whole lot here on the channel, and I thought that we should just bring it up. I'm talking about Berea. You might see it as a location. You're not going to have a Berea address. And it is just one of those areas that it's pretty budget friendly. It's ever changing. There's a lot of new construction happening in the area, but there's also some very, very nice established neighborhoods in this area. Now, the reputation is going to vary considerably. You're gonna have an awesome neighborhood over here, and then you're gonna have a not awesome neighborhood right here. So when it comes to location and living in those areas, it's actually pretty nice. But you've got to travel to go to everything. And I'm just gonna tell you, insider knowledge, the Berea Walmart shows up in the news all the time for bad reasons, and that's just a fact. So it's one of the least talked about areas, for better or worse, but it's so close to Travelers Rest, so close to downtown Greenville. We're talking within 5-10 minutes of both. Berea, though, look, I used to live in Berea. Because of that, I'm giving you a D. It's going to get better. It has to from here. All right, next, let's talk about kind of the outskirts of Travelers Rest. We're talking about none other than northern Greenville County. This is going to be the Landrum, Campobello area. And this is where rural meets growth. We have seen so much new construction get put in these areas. It's great for cost of living. You can get a very nice house for less money in the area. I have some past clients of mine that needed a very large house, found a brand new community about 2 years ago in Campobello. It adds about 15 minutes to their commute, but they were able to buy a house in their price range, where closer into town, the house was about $100,000 more. So if you're really looking for peace and quiet, larger yards, so larger properties, and you want the mountain views, this area, we're mentioning it because I think a lot of people sleep on it. You do have a longer commute. You do have pretty limited shopping and amenities, but these towns have this cute little downtowns, the little shops that have been there for decades. All in all, this area gets a B. All right, you have stuck with me this long, and if at any point in time throughout all of this, you're like, Aubree, I don't agree with you. Cool. Would love to talk to you about it in the comments. On the other side too, if you're like, hey, this is so helpful, and what was that thing that you mentioned at the beginning of the video? The circle sheet. Reach out to the team, scan the QR code, and we would love to help you out. Just ask for the circle sheet. If you're like, Aubree, isn't this a channel about Greenville? Well, yes, thank you. We've talked about all of these different areas. We are going to specifically talk about downtown Greenville. But before I talk to you about downtown Greenville, I promised you something special at the beginning of this video. Here's the deal. If you are watching and you're like, this is exactly what I needed, oh my goodness, we have a digital relocation guide that we can either text you, email you, or I can even snail mail you a version of it, but the digital copy is so cool. There's a link in the description. It'll take you directly to our relocation guide, and I hope that helps. But hey, you stuck with me, so let's go talk about downtown Greenville. It's really the polished, trendy highlight reel of the upstate. You have probably Googled and you've seen all of the really pretty pictures of Falls Park, the walkable downtown. I mean, it's got some of the best restaurants, nightlife, and events that this area has to offer. We just got a Michelin star restaurant downtown Greenville. Go visit Scoundrel. It's a blast. But Greenville is clean. It's well maintained. It's very aesthetic. What do we say now? Like, do it for the gram. Greenville has become popular. Here's the other thing too you need to know. It's expensive compared to the suburbs. If you want to live downtown, you have to have the budget to live downtown. And some of you do, and that's awesome. And some of you don't, and we need to have a conversation. But there's limited housing whenever it comes to living actually downtown. You're looking at condos and townhomes, or you're looking in some of the older neighborhoods that have more established builds. They're usually starting in the $700,000-$800,000 range. So with Greenville, of course, you have limited housing, space options. Parking and crowds can definitely be a challenge, but here's part of all of this. Greenville has this master plan, and it has a ton of development a part of it. Some of the things are really cool, and we actually just made a video, it's right here next to my face, about the development of Greenville and all that it's going to have to offer in the next 10 years. It's so cool. So Greenville, you get an A.